Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of From Page to Stage. I'm your host, Wendy Corner, and this podcast is for you. If you are an author, if you're a business person, you're an author. You may have a solo book, you may have an anthology book, but I bet you've also possibly got a blog, but you're definitely on socials, aren't you? So that means you're a published author. Did you think about it like that before? Maybe not. My next question is, that's the page. What about the stage? How much are you talking about what you're doing? Some people go, oh, can't handle this. But do you know what? You can. If you can have a one-to-one conversation with somebody, you can be on a stage like a podcast. This is exactly what we're doing today. So welcome. I would love to introduce you to the fabulous Professor Jessika Satori. Now, Jessika has had a little bit of an adventure in the last 48 hours. And I mean, I would love to be able to explain a bit more about who she is, but you know what? She knows herself better than I do. She knows the circumstances she's been in the last 48 hours. And absolute kudos to you, my love, for turning up at all. Jessika, tell us a bit more about who you are and how you got to where you are right now.
Sure, Wendy, thanks so much. I'm so glad to be here. And I'm delighted that you work with people from page to stage. When I was in high school, I think I spoke maybe 3 words out loud during my classes during high school. I was a very introverted type person. I didn't see myself as shy, but I saw myself as the observer. And I just watched people's behavior. And I didn't think it was, my place to speak. But as I got older, I see how critical it is to be able to send your ideas out into the world, not just by writing, but speaking. Absolutely.
Your words have power, regardless of whether it's on the page or coming out. Love it. Thank you. So, Jessika, I've alluded to the fact that you've had a bit of an adventure over the last 48 hours. Do you want to share with us what's happened?
Oh, certainly. I have been in my apartment as a chemical spill, and so it came up through my bathroom. And so I'm in a hotel and just negotiating. Am I going to go back? When am I going to go back? Or do I need to move? So I just thought, I need to see Wendy. I need to see her audience. I need to speak and just go through it. Okay, we're taking a vacation from the worry, and we're just lighting up with the world right now. And that's what the important thing is.
Fabulous, fabulous. I totally honor you for that. So, Jessika, I alluded to the fact that you are a professor. Tell us more about that.
I am. I'm a professor of business, and I've worked worldwide. I've worked in Abu Dhabi, in Moscow, in Madagascar, and in South Korea. And then, so I teach business management, more the soft skills, marketing, entrepreneurship. But I also made a transition of speaking theology, and that means all world religions. So I teach classes in comparative religion. I taught a class of healing to a group of nursing students that are going to get their bachelor's in nursing. And so, yeah, it's wonderful to be able to, create what you want to be and be an example for others to do the same.
Yeah. I'm hearing from you that you're a natural teacher.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I did not see that when I was younger. I didn't like school. So I think it's a wonderful thing I had to learn of, yes, that I'm a teacher and embrace that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. So let me take you back in time. What prompted you to start writing in the first place? Not necessarily the written, the published book thing, but go back in time. Tell us when you started writing.
I was influenced by my mother. I grew up on a farm, and I would hear the typewriter at 2 a.m. She got up every morning at 2, and I could hear her writing. And so it was her example that got me to write. And also she loved we had a library with poetry books and great literature of the world. And yeah, it was great to be around a literary person who
So
valued this
was
book.
she a writer as well?
She was, yes.
Right. What sort of
Yeah.
things did she write? Novels, poetry, nonfiction?
She wrote journal articles,
Mhm.
but her big love was she was dyslexic, and of course dyslexia was not well known when she was growing
Yes.
up. And she actually got her doctorate when she was 60 years old and said, I'm going to teach. And that's what she did. She tested people. Her dissertation was about juvenile delinquency and literacy. So, of course, if kids are not successful in school, they're going to choose something else. So, how can we make a major difference in the world because of that? Yeah.
What a wonderful role model. Go, Mama.
Yes. Right.
Yeah, fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing that. So that was how you started. You got your love of writing. So what sort of age were you? I mean, did you handwrite? Did you type?
I was writing, handwriting, and then I was also drawing as part of it too.
Right.
Yeah. And
So
then
journaling, doing a diary?
journaling since I was 8. I still have all of my journals since I was 8, right? Some of them I've scanned so I don't have to move them. But yeah, I still have them in my drawings, and any film. I went into film later on, so I could capsulate it into a film in that way, so I could share it to a much wider audience.
Beautiful. So movie rather than as in pictures.
Yeah, movie.
Right.
Yeah.
You're a talented lady, and you got a breadth of creativity in there. This is gorgeous, gorgeous. Okay, so that was when you started doing the writing bit. Tell us a bit more about your speaking. Now, obviously, as a teacher, you do an awful lot of speaking. Are there any other sorts of speaking that you do?
Yes, I speak to audiences about creativity, and they can be, I've done 2,000, 5,000 people sort of audiences, and I've also done 5. So it doesn't matter. I love all audiences. And my speaking didn't come online until my 30s. And it was a part of, I'm so terrified, but I began to be a teacher at 30. And being in the classroom every day, you lose your fright pretty fast because you're up there doing it.
Yes, yeah. But do you find there, though, that the teaching skills and the keynoting skills are quite different?
They are.
Yeah,
definitely. I don't expect, I don't do as much as entertaining when I'm in the classroom, even though that is part of it, but you definitely need to be entertaining when you're keynote. Keep that interest up.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because there are different styles of speaking. I've been a TEDx. I've been the head coach at UWA, TEDx UWA for 5 years.
Awesome.
Not there this year because I'm not in Perth.
Right.
Presently, got to do this brag, guys. Audience, I'm presently sitting in Christ's College, Cambridge, recording this. Very excited about that. So I'm in the UK at the moment. But what I was getting around to was we've had 1 or 2 of our speakers over the past few years who have been professional speakers, but have frozen when it comes to the red circle, because what they have been used to doing is, I mean, we had a High Court lawyer who can stand up in front of the High Court, not a problem, doesn't faze her. And I said, we went out on the red circle for the dress rehearsal, and she absolutely froze. Why is this? Wow. I said, well, look, let's face it. When you're in the High Court, you're delivering a very well-prepared brief about somebody else.
Yes.
This is you bearing your soul. It's a very different matter. I had another one who was a professor. I speak all the time. I said, yeah, but you're teaching. It's a bit different. Again, she realized it was a different skill set. So that's why I was asking you about did you notice the difference between the keynoting and the teaching? Because some people will gravitate towards the teaching, others will facilitate, others will keynote, some MC, some do stand-up. All of them require different skill sets. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Oh, absolutely. And another thing is in the classroom, it's on your own turf.
Yes.
And keynoting is wherever you're needed.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the professor, she said to me, I've been lecturing for 25 years. I know how to speak. I'm like, yeah, you do, with a podium and a microphone and slides and a captive audience who have to pay attention because you're going to assess them.
Exactly.
Different. Yeah. From one professor to another. Okay, beautiful. So we've spoken a bit about what started you writing, and we've spoken a bit about your speaking journey. What are you working on at the moment? Because you've got something rather precious coming up, haven't you?
Yes, indeed. So I now go under the moniker of the present-minded professor, and that's a play on the film The Absent-Minded Professor. I work with people to help them focus, and I work mainly with people who are, I want to say non-traditional career people who have chosen their own way. Sometimes they're retirees, but many times they're younger people that I want to do this, and how do I do this, and how do I keep focused? The focus is the major thing, to be able to hit goals and not lose your identity along the way. Your identity is going to change, but not to completely throw out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak. Yes. And I just,
go ahead. Sorry, keep going.
No, I just was part of the anthology of Beyond Coincidence and with Hill House. And then I'll be republishing my book Synchronicity, which is the 25th anniversary edition.
When's that one coming out?
This fall, winter, yeah. So many things.
But for those of us who are not in the Northern Hemisphere, can you put a sort of month-ish, quarter-ish on there?
That's brilliant. Thank you. That'll be more November, December.
November, December time. Just in time for Christmas.
Absolutely.
Like it. Yeah, perfect. Synchronicity. Tell us a bit more about that one then.
So I did a survey about, the 25 years ago, which is now being updated. So I'll take some of the older entrepreneurs and then new entrepreneurs as well. And I asked them questions about, how did synchronicity play out when you were creating your business? And it's fabulous, the stories you hear about, I'll just give you a quick example. Tom's of Maine. He was a toothpaste. I don't know if you have it in Australia, Tom's of Maine. It's a brand that does toothpaste and personal products. And he could not find a chemist. And he talked about, I just can't find a chemist for my business. And then, one day he was mentioning that to the receptionist, and a gentleman walked in, said, my car broke down. Can I use your phone? Tom said, what do you do? He says, I'm a chemist. And it turns out he stayed there for 30 years for the company. Yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant, isn't it?
Yes.
Fabulous. Slightly different tack, but I've got something that I can share with you that happened just last week.
Oh, please.
I'm in Canterbury, and I spotted a cafe on my way because I was speeding down to the cathedral in time for service. And this cafe had advertised, it wasn't open yet, gluten-free cakes. Note to self, I'll go back there and have a little something afterwards. So I went back, and they'd only got one gluten-free cake, and it kind of looked a bit sad. Okay, I won't. He said, we'll try our sister store the other end of town. So I go marching over there, the same rather sad looking cake. Okay. So I just sort of meandered around, and I had passed an empty shop that was a social enterprise cafe, and I was peering through the window and could see what was written up on the board, and I thought, I like the sound of this, but it's shut. Okay. just heading slowly back towards the bus station. And I was invited by a couple of ladies out in the street to the new venue for said cafe.
Wow.
So I didn't, and they had a very nice gluten-free cake. So I didn't get to either of the original ones because I was destined to go to that one. And it
Yeah.
brought back memories for me because as a student speech pathologist, I was working with a group of people with intellectual disability in Camden in London nearly 40 years ago in a similar situation. So it was lovely to see how things have progressed. Yeah. Synchronicity.
Wow. Yeah, and it's so wonderful that you're attesting to, I'm not going to settle for the cake that doesn't look good. And you did it twice. Bravo.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm learning a bit more about trusting my intuition.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. So you're planning on that Synchronicity coming out in November, beginning of December, in time for the Christmas market.
Right.
Beautiful.
Exactly.
Audience, we have dynamic show notes. So if you haven't been involved with From Page to Stage in the past, you may not know this. The show notes will be changed. When Jessica gives me the link and says, it's coming out, we will change the show notes to actually give the link and the date of publication. And I will stick out a quick social splash going, do you remember that brilliant conversation I had with Jessica? Well, the book is coming out and here it is. Oh, and by the way, go back and check that recording because it was fabulous.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So that's what, so we're coming up towards that. I'm going to ask you, how do you embody your words when you take them from page to stage?
That is such a marvelous question because I dance them out. Before, when I had a beautiful college professor that said, okay, you need to memorize the amino acids, right? You get up and dance them. You don't just go
Oh,
over.
come on, tell me more, because you've really got me on the edge of my seat.
Right? So I still remember that from all these years ago. But dancing, once you write your speech or whatever, you start dancing it because you've got to have that movement in there. When you do a keynote, you can't be frozen, and your muscle memory will help you when you are presenting. Yes.
Love it. So you did actually, was it movement or was it genuinely a dance? What do you mean by dance? Sorry,
It's probably more movement than dance.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, I know that I have put things to tunes. I mean, I was learning my pluperfect French tense endings in 1978, 79, and I can still remember them because I put them to music.
Exactly.
The number of cross links you can make in your brain, the more you're going to be remembering it.
Right. That neuroplasticity, just their synapses are still there.
They are.
They grow.
On that note, can I do another bit of a share with you, Jessica? Sort of
Sure.
On a bit nerdy style. As a speech pathologist, we were trained as students that if we didn't get stroke patients in within 6 weeks post-stroke, we would not be able to get anywhere with them. That was their critical window. After that, the damage was done. It wouldn't get better. And I remember thinking back in the 80s, do you know, I reckon the brain's cleverer than that. I think it will reroute. And here we are a few years later, neuroplasticity has become an acknowledged thing. And I go, I was right all along.
Absolutely. I believe that to be true. It's like what we were told about, 50% of communication is such and such and 8%. And it's like we're learning things all the time that are making a difference. And people in comas. Okay. And one of the things I've had interactions with people who do coma research, and it's amazing of, people that other doctors had given up on. They're like, no, we're here's a person who came out of their coma and they could tell us what happened and what was going on. And so we're learning all the time
Yes.
of what is possible.
Yeah. Yeah. And on that front, we're kind of digressing from the main topic, but hey, this is really interesting. I think but when transplants have occurred, there's been almost like the muscle memory of the donor has transferred to the recipient.
Right. Right. And I remember an interview with Carl Sagan, the great astronomer. He said, when I was going to get a transplant for my sister, I worried because she was such a horse lover if I would pick up wanting to ride a horse after I got the transplant or not.
Yeah.
And I think that does happen.
Yes. Well, I think it was, wasn't there a lady who'd had a heart transplant who the heart had come from somebody who'd been stabbed?
Wow.
And they were able to show who the perpetrator was.
That's incredible. Wow.
Well, it was a murder. Whether I got that right in terms of the stabbing, I don't know. But whoever it was, the recipient actually could tell the police who it was who had murdered them, the donor.
That's incredible. That is just amazing. Yeah.
Isn't it? And that's absolutely nothing to do with the original conversation. Audience, you'll have gathered by now that podcasts can be a little organic and a little fluid,
absolutely.
Particularly this one. We'll get back into, there was the embodiment. That was it. It was the embodiment of the words from page to stage. We went into dancing. We went into muscle memory. And that's how you partly remember your talks.
Absolutely.
That's where we were going with that one. Thank you, Jessica. That was a lovely conversation.
We're both multidimensional beings, Wendy.
So we are. So we're kind of coming full circle again now. You've got this book coming out in the November, December time.
Right.
That's a re-edition. So you're putting new material into it. That's correct?
Yes.
Right. Beautiful. Do you have any inklings that there's another book later?
Oh, absolutely. I've got 10 that are in the pipeline.
Whoa. Okay.
One is a memoir about my mother, who was a World War II veteran in India.
Okay.
So about her soldiering. So she went from a small town in Montana to the big city of Chicago, to Kolkata, India, to Geneva, and then back to the States, and just her life. And I heard her journals, her diaries, as well as other movies and things like that of her life. And so I'm looking forward to that, because that's a real exciting.
Yeah. So is that going to be a multimedia event?
I'm not sure at this time. I just know that like in 2 weeks, I'll be in San Francisco, because that's one of the places she was stationed.
Okay.
And Capri last year. And I've been to
lovely.
And there was another place I hope to go to soon. I think it was Geneva. So yeah, to just walk in her footsteps.
Love it. Yeah. And she kept up her journaling all the way through her life?
Say that again, sorry.
She kept up her journaling all the way through her life?
Yes.
Cool. Wow.
Yeah, so it's nice to know, as I'm writing this, I'm thinking, what did I learn from her? And back to that 2 a.m. doing writing. And that just made such an impression when I was a child that, oh, every mom does this. Well, no, every mom doesn't do that, right? Yeah. So,
wow.
Yeah, and there's a couple more business books that are coming up. Leadership book is coming up next year. And yeah, I'm so excited to be able to write.
Are you still teaching, or is your writing that your main occupation at the moment?
The writing is the main occupation. I'm still teaching, January terms or summer sessions, things like that, because it keeps you going and it keeps you interacting with people.
Yes.
And then, as you're writing, it's pretty solitary.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, it can be a lonely old place. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I love about writing and speaking, because you get that both sides, that
Yes.
introvert. Mm-hmm.
But then would you say any of them so far have been legacy pieces, or is the legacy piece still to come?
I think the legacy piece is still to come.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm also writing poetry. So that also, I put a chapbook out every 1 or 2 years. So I have a book called Roy G. Biv. And you may ask, what? That's a weird title. But Roy G. Biv is a mnemonic for the colors of the rainbow. So red, orange, yellow. Yeah. And that's how I learned the colors of the rainbow, was by Roy G. Biv. So.
Yeah. Well, I won't tell you the mnemonic that we were given for the cranial nerves by anatomy lecturers from Guy's in London. Let's just say it wasn't very ladylike. The first one they gave us and went, yeah, I'm going to give you the sanitized version.
Right.
The speech therapist audience in the 80s were primarily women.
Right. Oh, wow.
Things have moved on since then, thankfully. Yeah. But yes. Yes, it was an interestingly colourful version. Yeah. And I remember the 5 branches of them, the facial nerves. Anyway, we've digressed. Mnemonics can be really helpful, absolutely. So one of the things I'm going to suggest, Jessica, is we'll put in the show notes your author page on Amazon. Awesome. Because that way people can go in and check out all the different things that you've done so far, and that will forever be your author link.
Awesome.
Are all of your titles through Amazon, or do you have any separate?
I do have separate, and they're going on my website in 2 months. Yes.
Okay, so we'll make sure that that's on there as well.
Yes.
Like I said, audience dynamic. Go back and check.
Right. And Linktree is where I put all of my links. So I'm glad that was created for us multidimensional people.
Yes. Yeah. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. Okay. Well, as we're winding up, is there anything we've missed off? Any final words?
You asked me to create or say a nugget of wisdom at the end. And this is a poem. I'd like to recite a poem because I think that's one way we can establish and maintain focus, especially on a busy day. So I'm going to recite a poem, and then I'll tell you who the author is afterwards, because that'll be better. So it's a poem called Courage. And it goes, courage is the price that life exacts for granting peace. The soul that knows it not knows no release from the little things, knows not the livid loneliness of fear, nor bitter joy, where only the soul can hear the sound of wings. How can life, grant boon of living, compensate for dull gray ugliness and pregnant hate, unless we dare the soul's dominion? Each time we make a choice, we pay with courage to behold the restless day and count it fair. And that's by Amelia Earhart.
Oh, right.
We didn't know that Amelia, she flew planes, but many people, she was a poet as well.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, she had some courage to go flying planes all over the place, didn't she? Particularly in the day and age that she was in.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Ooh.
Incredible woman.
Yes. Yeah. Did your mother write poetry?
She did. And even my father wrote poetry. He was a cowboy poet, a farmer by trade, and then a cowboy poet. All his life he wrote poetry. I never knew that until his last years. But yeah. What we we learn about our parents.
Yes.
Yeah.
So many things that we don't necessarily think of, particularly when we're growing up, because, well,
Mhm.
they're parents. I mean,
Right.
yes.
Always be around, when we're young,
Yeah,
we always be
yeah.
around. Yeah, they won't be.
No, they won't. Yeah. Oh, Jessika, I've absolutely loved speaking with you. This has been so much fun. And thank you. Thank you for turning up when you've had such a blooming awful couple of days. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you so much for your patience
No
to
problem.
reschedule and be able to do this, because I have such a blast when I talk to you. You just light the world up.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, audience, this has been fun, hasn't it? With dear Jessika has joined us, and we will have this podcast up pretty quickly. Doesn't make any difference to you because you don't know that I'm editing it anyway. Oh, thank you very much, Jessika, for being with us today and sharing your from page to stage.
Absolutely. Thank you.